Hey, everyone. I just want to take a quick break to shout out our sponsor, ASI Racewear. ASI Racewear has been serving racers with custom designed fire suits, team uniforms, and racing apparel throughout the Northeast and East Coast for 40 years. They are, if you're a racer, if you're a race team, whatever you are, if you're starting your own team, they are the apparel and embroidery process that you want to go through. They've got a world-class art department. They've got world-class manufacturing processes that make them efficient with a quick turnaround and delivery. ASI Racewear is your best source of racing wear, period. Period. No ifs, ands, buts about it. Again, you've got to check them out, asiracewear.com. You could also contact Al Heisley at gmail.com. We'll put the email up there. He will help you out to get that custom racing apparel that you so deserve. They're world class. They're easy to work with. They'll communicate. They'll work around your schedule, whatever it is. And they've got quality products. So make sure you check out ASI Racewear all over the Northeast and the East Coast. Check them out. Let's get back to the show. All right. And we are back from a little bit of a hiatus, nothing crazy, but we are back with another episode of Johnny on the Track. And tonight I have a special guest, Nick Rhodes, co-host of Sundays for NASCAR. And you can check them out on YouTube, Sundays for NASCAR. They're also on Twitter. Got a good Twitter there. Nick, man, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. This is exciting.
Yeah. So first of all, before I get into you and I talking about stuff, I just want to go over what you guys have started to build with Sundays for NASCAR. So for those listening that don't know their channel, they've got weekly content that's great, but something that I think that you guys do among the best of them is those live from the tracks. You guys with that shit, man, you guys. So I do like live vlogs and they're more of just like kind of like fun and mess around. But like what you guys do, the editing, the time, it is always an entertaining 30 minutes, which is insane to me because like mine are like 10 minutes. I'm like, oh, is this too long? I can watch yours all day. So I want everybody to check those out because Nick, those are brilliant, bro.
Thank you. It's actually they kind of surprised me. Also, we've got a great editor and
yes,
a film crew. Corey, shout out to Corey. He's awesome. He's literally doing this like in his free time, just like the rest of us. We all got our day jobs. We all got stuff that we got to do and crank out. But he is knocking them out of the park. And literally when I get to see him for the first time is when everyone else gets to see him for the first time. So
that's cool.
It's pretty impressive. They keep getting better and better. And, you know, I don't think length is a huge issue, but at the same time, the like you said, the content from the actual track when we're there live, nobody else does it like that.
I totally agree. And I mean that, like, I wouldn't say that if I didn't think that was true, man. Nobody does it like you guys do it. I would say you guys are the kings of that right now. And honestly, like the results show. I mean, your stuff is those things are getting a lot of views. And I know like you guys, like a couple months you guys have been doing this for, right?
Yeah, it's only been, I want to say we started our YouTube page 3 months ago. I maybe overshooting that just a little bit, but I think we're at 12 videos right now on YouTube. And so I want to say about 3 months that we've been doing it, and we've been on Facebook and Twitter and all the other social medias for a little bit longer than that. But these videos is something that we've always been wanting to do, and we're finally able to do it. We're having a lot of fun doing it, and it's gained a lot of traction a lot faster than I thought it would. So it's been a lot of fun.
Well, rightfully so, well deserved. So talk to me a little bit about, you mentioned right around 3 months ago, you say, give or take, this started. So tell me how you and co-host Joe Barron, how you guys started this. Were you guys like friends before? Did you kind of just link up? Like, tell me the story of how this all came about.
Okay, so I actually met Corey, the camera guy and the
Yep.
editor, and Joa through my brother. I've known Joa for a little while. We grew up around the same town. We went to the same high school. Didn't hang out nearly as much. He was friends with my brother first, and then these past 2 years, we've gotten really close, and we've just been watching NASCAR races together and talking about doing something. And then it finally happened. So we're here now, but really these guys have only been hanging out with for maybe a year or two, and just talking about it, and now we're finally doing it. So I'm pretty happy about that. We literally have gone to, let's see, last year I think we went to 4 races together, and this
Okay.
year we're on track to do 10.
Wow. 10 race. I mean,
Yeah.
I only get to do one. Well, I get to do one cup race, but I go to quite a bit of wheel and tour stuff and just like local tracks. But because you know what? I actually remember Joe was saying, because I want to get him on the pod as well. Hopefully, the three of us can do one on Johnny on the track. But anyway, he had told me, he's like, hey, like, I want to meet you at a race. I know like what you do. Like let's do a race together. He's like, here's a list of events I'm going to, and I'm like, holy smokes, dude! Well, that's a lot of races. What? Not that I wouldn't want to do that, but that's a paycheck.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to go to this many, but I also wasn't expecting Sundays for NASCAR to blow up like it has. And
Yep.
but at the same time, this is what we wanted. This is exactly what we were shooting for. Like I said, 4 races last year. Typically, I mean, without Sundays for NASCAR, really, personally, I was just going to like 2 or 3 a year,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
that's, that was within my budget. And now we've literally made a whole nother budget just so we can go to the racetrack.
Well, props. Cheers to that. Give us a swig on that. Come on. I mean, you got it, right?
No
Um,
problem, buddy.
There we go. There we go. All right. So let's go to Nick Rhodes is growing up. He's a young guy. How does he get into NASCAR?
Okay, so I was 8 years old,
All right.
and I was hanging out with my buddy Austin. This probably my longest best friend that I've had. I met him playing soccer. We were on the same soccer team, and then we just became best friends. We've hung out ever since. His dad and his brother, Austin's brother, but Austin's dad also was a huge Jeff Gordon fan. And when I'd go
Oh,
over to their
yes, sir.
house
You're talking
every
my
weekend,
language.
yeah, all right, cool. So every weekend I'd go over there, and the NASCAR race was on. I had no idea what I was watching. I was 8 years old, but I was interested, and I guess by force of habit, being there every weekend, listening to his dad talk and everything. I mean, parents are very influential
Mhm.
on your decisions, or the teams that you want, and of course you kind of make your own. But at that time, Jeff Gordon had just switched from the Rainbow to the Flame car, and for
Okay.
whatever reason, I was big into Flames back in the day, so it just kind of worked out that I was going to be a Jeff Gordon fan. That's kind of where the influence for my number 9. That's where the Flames come from. Is Jeff Gordon right there?
I,
So I got really into it really fast, and they actually took me to my very first race at Atlanta Motor Speedway in 2004, I believe. And man, I can't remember who won that race. I want to say Jimmy Johnson did, but I could be wrong. Regardless, I've gone to many races with them. That's how I got into NASCAR, and I've been a diehard ever since. I research, I watch old races, and I have Nick's NASCAR knowledge up here, man. Like I can name you probably every champion from '95 to current day, like right now in a minute.
so and that's why you guys put out good content, because you know your stuff. But that's interesting. So I feel not, I don't know. I feel like maybe that happens quite a bit, but I haven't heard a story like that a friend, really a friend's parent
Yeah.
got you into NASCAR. But I was a fan for a while growing up with a buddy of mine. We were like I'm from Rhode Island. So,
Okay.
we don't really have many NASCAR fans up here, but me and my buddy, shout out Rob, were fans, but, we couldn't really connect that with other people. We're like, basketball, baseball, stuff like that. That's kind of a Rhode Island thing. But I always loved it. I still had a love for it. I watched as much as I could. When I met my girlfriend, her parents, would go to a track quite a bit. And I would say that kind of got me really back into like really loving it, really getting that passion back.
Yeah.
Because like I said, like growing up, my friend, me and him would try to connect as much as we could, but like you can't, we talk NASCAR in front of our buddies. You're like, all right, guys, like shut up. Like,
It's not like football. I mean, everybody can talk football, and most people can probably talk baseball or whatever. But honestly, I would say that NASCAR it has like this very interesting following, like where you don't meet very many people that actually follow NASCAR, watch it religiously every week, like I do, or like you do probably. And so
right.
it's hard to meet new people within the group of the sport. Seriously, it's one of the toughest things to actually come across. But when you do, those people are probably the most genuine, the most passionate fans out there.
I totally agree with you. And I tried to tell that and express that to one, the people that view this, but also like friends of mine that ask, like, how'd you get into it and all that. And I tell them, like, you have to experience a race,
Mhm.
because only at a NASCAR race will you see a fan. Joey Logano is driving around 300 times, and every lap some guy is throwing the middle finger at him. You're
That's
not going to
me,
get.
man. That's me.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, people don't understand how passionate these people are, how much they love it. And that's something so it's actually a funny story. I took my buddy like a couple weeks ago to Seekonk Speedway, which is up in Massachusetts, right on the Rhode Island, Massachusetts line. And he had never been to a race. And I was like, dude, you're going to have a lot of fun. Like, I'm telling you, bro, you're going to have a lot of fun. He gets there. He's like, dude, that was freaking awesome. And I'm like, that's how it is, man. Like, once you take someone to a race, there's no going back. There's really no
Yeah.
going back.
I totally agree with that. It's that's how I got my brother into it. He had gone I think only one time, and that was one of the first times that I had gone. My dad took me and my brother to an Atlanta race. It was my dad's one and only race that he ever went to. It was probably a little bit too loud, a little bit too smoky, a little bit too many drunk people or
Right,
whatever.
right.
Not really his cup of tea, but that's like I was like, these are my people. This is exactly who I want to be around. And so Charlie, my brother, he had gotten to experience it at least once, I know. And then I moved in with him, and we started this NASCAR fantasy with Joa and Corey and
Mm-hmm.
my brother Charlie, and so everybody's involved in this, and a whole bunch of all our other friends that actually follow NASCAR, which is really cool. But he only recently just like really started getting into it. He's probably bought more merch in 1 year than I think I've bought in possibly my entire life. And not to say I don't buy a lot of merch, but typically I just buy one thing at a time. And he's like,
Right.
he's got like four Truex hats and 3 Truex shirts and a flag, and he bought one of those race jackets and everything. Like,
Oh,
I don't even have
yes.
one of those.
Shout out your brother there. That's some
Yeah.
good stuff. But that's what it is. And this will bring me to my last point, and then we'll move into some current season stuff.
Okay.
Some people have asked me, right? They're like, you've had some big guests, but then you have some small guests. Like, why don't you always try to do big guests? And I'm like, well, because I know there's people like me that are just trying to, share the love of the sport with other people that are like myself, right? That are just trying to do stuff like this, do podcasts like this. So I'm trying to support people like, like you guys and the other guys that are just trying to come up and share content, share good stuff that we love. So that's why I do it, really.
Yeah, honestly, that's why we do it. We're my whole thought process when we first started this thing was I'm gonna watch anyway because I'm gonna be a fan. Number one, no matter what, I have
Exactly.
to. I'm gonna watch. We might as well try and get other people to watch or at least educate them on the sport and everything because a lot of people don't necessarily know about NASCAR or the history of where it came from.
Right.
And seriously, NASCAR probably has the most interesting history of any sport out there. I mean, it really does. I mean, starting from bootleggers running moonshine, running from the cops and everything to tricking out their cars and everything to make them really fast so they could get away, and then racing on the beach
Racing on
and
the
all this other
beach.
kind of crazy stuff. It's insane, man. Like that, there's no other story in sports other than like NASCAR. I mean, NASCAR is just I don't know why either. Like I fell in love with it a long time ago, and I've been holding on to it ever since.
Well,
They piss me off from time to time, but I still love them.
we're gonna clip that, and that'll be the promo for this episode because it's true. We don't have the history we have in our sport. Goes a long way, and others don't. But on that note, we'll take it from history. We'll take it to current.
Nice.
So we've got 13 current winners. We've got the point season champ in Hamlin, who's locked in. So that's 14. And then we've got two guys in Harvick and Tyler Reddick on the playoff cut line for points. All right.
Yep.
Who do you think still has a win in them to bump one of those guys out
Before the playoffs.
before the playoffs? It could be you think Harvick gets a win, you think Denny gets a win, or maybe you think Reddick gets a win. But who do you think still has a win that doesn't now?
In my heart, I wish it would be DiBenedetto, but
Okay.
that's just because it's my boy. But if I'm thinking with my brain, it's got to be Hamlin.
Okay. All right.
It's got to be. It's so weird. Everybody's been talking about it. They're like, what is going on with the H's this year? Hamlin and Harvick. I mean, from last year getting, what was it? Harvick had 9 and Hamlin had 7. And now neither of them have any. Like, I'm still scratching my head on it. I just don't understand.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think if you had to just bet the money on it, you'd say Denny is the safe pick. But the interesting thing about this moving forward with whatever the 4 or 5 races we have left, Watkins Glen, which I feel like you can expect like a normal, like a Chase Elliott or a Kyle Busch, a big, there he is, right, to win that. But at the same time, I could see a shock winner. And then we've got the Indy road course, right? I mean, that we don't even know what that's going to be about. And then we've got Daytona, right? So you talk about DiBenedetto. You can talk about Tyler Reddick, who's still a mile and a half Michigan. He's performed well on those. You never know. Chastain's performed well on the road courses. I mean, this could get really interesting at the end here.
Yeah, earlier in the season, I was thinking because everybody kept talking about, they were like, could we possibly get 16 winners? And I kept thinking to myself, I was like, yeah, we absolutely could. And then for a while there, I was like, no, there's no way it's going to happen. And we're at 13 right now.
Yep.
13 different winners. Okay. So it's still possible. I don't think it's necessarily going to happen, but what if it did and everything? Cause me and Joe we joke about, I should say, like, what if it ends up being like there are 16 different winners and Hamlin and Harvick are get bumped out or whatever? Are they going to pull a Jeff Gordon like they did in 2012 and just add them to the playoffs anyway?
No, but like that's think about this one. Think about this one. Larson overtakes Hamlin in the points lead. That bumps him out of that like locked in spot. And then just two or three guys would have to win. And then he would be bumped out because he doesn't have that clinch. And then Another crazy scenario I'm thinking, if we get like somehow, right, the regular season points champ and then what it would be 16 or 15 other winners, McDowell with a win could be bumped
Yeah,
out.
good. That's what's crazy about this year is that it's like I wasn't expecting this, and I said it since the very beginning. NASCAR had it right, or maybe it was Fox that said it, but it was best season ever, and I have to agree because it's been so unpredictable. I mean, who thought about Eric Almirola at New Hampshire?
Oh my God.
I don't think anyone had that in their
God,
lineups
no.
or in their or even in their brain, like
No.
as a, as an idea that he possibly could win it. And so that was really cool. It wasn't who I was expecting to possibly get a win, like and lock themselves in the playoffs or anything. But so that was, I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, good form and everything. I'm not like I'm a fan, but it's not like I hate him or anything. But so I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
Since the guys right there on the cutoff line, the two RCR guys, Tyler Reddick and Austin Dillon, does one of them make it, or do neither of them make it?
So if you want my honest opinion, here's where I think this will go. I think we'll get probably two additional winners, and that would
Yeah.
take us to 15. And then Hamlin, I think, will retain the points lead to get the automatic clinch. I
Mhm.
think Austin Dillon will win at Daytona, the last race. I think he'll pull a William Byron last year, just clutch up, just win. Like he'll be right around like maybe +2, -2 points, and he'll
Yeah.
clinch himself in. And man, dude, I genuinely think Ross Chastain is going to pull one out. I do. I think,
I could definitely see that happening.
and so that my gut tells me that's what's going to happen. And I think in that case, you'll probably have Harvick because he does have that gap. He'll probably be the guy that doesn't get in with a win as well as Hamlin, but he has the clinch. So I think Austin Dillon will be one of the RCR cars that gets in with that clutch win. That's what I'm thinking.
So Harvick is out.
No, Harvick in that case would be in because well, no, maybe he would be out. Would he be out?
I mean, with 13 and Hamlin above him, which would make 14, it's Harvick and then Tyler Reddick as we speak. But if you're thinking Ross Chastain and then Austin Dillon, Harvick would be out.
That would bump out. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I think it's gonna happen.
Okay, so Harvick goes from 9 wins in a season and then doesn't make the Final Four, which definitely surprised everybody last year, to not even making the playoffs at all this year.
Dude, I genuinely think I know, but I genuinely think, and hear me out. You might think the same way. I think at this point, it's more. I genuinely think this. I think it's more probable that we'd get two additional winners than Harvick making the playoffs. I genuinely do.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I'm just trying to think of who. Like, I could easily tell you who I would like to get a win. Like Ross Chastain, Matt DiBenedetto, those guys, all those guys that are right there, like outside the cut line, and there for a while before Kurt Busch won the Atlanta race that we were at.
Another one
was awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. I was thinking, oh man, he may not even make the playoffs at all this year, and this was even before the Chip Ganassi news and whatnot. But before Atlanta, when I was having this thought, I was like, man, we've had so many winners that some people are really just not going to make it that you would expect. And I was thinking Kurt Busch was going to be one of those guys, but thankfully he's in. But I'd like to see Ross Chastain because I'm a huge fan of him. Not to mention that he's been showing up the last few weeks, like getting top 5s, getting top 10s, leading laps, killing it. And Matt DiBenedetto is that underdog story that everyone likes to cheer for. At the same time, it's like I don't know what his future is going to be like and everything. And with the news of Ross Chastain now joining Trackhouse, getting that second car, we kind of have a feeling that we know where Kurt Busch is going to go. Does Matt DiBenedetto even have an available ride, like, at all?
That I mean, that's another scenario that I could see is Matt Benedetto clutches up at Daytona and gets in. And my thinking behind this is you have to think Daytona. You never know who's going to win that. I mean, Matt Benedetto was inches away from winning at Talladega.
Yep.
He always performs well at Vegas, which I know that's later on again, but he always performs well at the super speedways. And then my
Yep.
thinking of Chastain has performed well at road courses this year. And we have one road course this week in Watkins Glen, which I think he could go out and win. I genuinely do. And then again, the Indy road course, who the heck knows what's going to happen there? I mean, like, seriously.
No, I'm excited about the Indy road course because I'm excited, or I have been excited about all these different new tracks that NASCAR decided to go to, because you're like, well, I don't even know who to pick right now. I don't think anyone really does. It's like you don't know because we've never been there, or we haven't been there in 20 plus years, or whatever. And so I keep thinking to myself, I cannot wait for the Indy road course, because everyone expects the typical road course ringers like your Chase Elliott, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, possibly. They're a handful of guys, and then you'll have like guys like AJ Allmendinger and Austin Cindric who get those like part-time ride deals or whatever, and you can't bet out on them. So, but again, this is the first time that they're running the. Which, by the way, I'm a little upset that they're not running the actual Brickyard 400. But
I agree with you.
I'm a naturalist. I'm a purist. I'm like the old guys. I like to stick with tradition. But I mean, I can't complain. I mean, we're getting a new track. I just kind of wish that we would at least stick with the Brickyard, since it was a crown jewel race.
Yeah, me personally, I love racing on NASCAR Heat. That's my favorite track to play. I mean, it is so much fun to race on. And it's funny on NASCAR Heat, it's a lot. The finishes are a lot closer than the finishes in NASCAR. Usually you just get sort of, a 1-2 at the end, two guys battling it out. But it always is fun on NASCAR Heat. You got like 5 cars coming down that back straightaway, and it's fun. But I want to ask you, so we talked about Kurt Busch, who I will mention. I'll wait. I'll save for that. But who is your 2021 championship pick?
Johnny on the track or Johnny on the spot?
Track.
Because you just put me on the spot. Thanks, John.
Oh, yeah. Well said. Well said.
Well, good Lord, man. I've been wanting to say Kyle Larson. I think everyone kind of had him on their mind, and now all of a sudden I kind of want to change my pick. I mean, again, this is like, are you going with your heart? Or are you going with your brain? And so if I'm going with my heart, I got to go with my boy Chase. You're wearing his shirt. Thank you very much for doing that.
Yes, sir.
He's inked on my skin. He's never coming off. So I got to pull for my boy. Get 2 times in a row. That would be awesome. But if I really had to think about it, I want to say I just got to go with Larson. I really do. I feel like that for a while they just kind of like they're trying to like get off the NASCAR's radar for a minute and everything, and then all of a sudden that Jimmy Johnson juice is going to come right back there at the end.
Yep.
And that they've got a NOS button somewhere in their car. We got to find it, but seriously, them Chevrolets they're just awesome. But again, it's not even just Hendrick. It's all the Chevrolets. Did you notice for the last few years they've been struggling with the horsepower, with the aero package and whatnot, and then all of a sudden, like the middle of last year, they just clicked, and now this year it's all the Chevy teams. RCR's doing good. Chip Ganassi's doing well. Obviously Hendrick, and just incredible. I'm a big Ford guy, but I go Chevy racing on race day.
Okay. All right. I like that. So I will say this, and I've stood by it. I've made even a meme video about myself saying it. I have stood by. Question for you. Let's see if you get the right answer, because there's only one right answer. Not really,
right.
But who is the most clutch driver the past 4 years when it comes to, I don't want to say like deep playoffs, but just in the playoffs?
Chase Elliott.
Well, I'm okay with that answer. Kurt Busch. Kurt
Kurt
Busch,
Busch in the playoffs.
when you need Kurt Busch the most, he comes up with something to shock everybody, to just be like, where
Yeah,
did that come from? And that was it. That was it at Atlanta. That was it. It was, where the heck did that come from? He just killed everybody.
yeah.
And to me, I knew it was coming. I said he was going to get a win. He did. He's going to get another shock win in the playoffs, and I think he's going to have he's had the speed all season. I think he's
Yeah.
going to get his way to the championship four. I don't know how, somehow, and he's going to shock the world.
I love you for saying that.
Dude, I've stood by this. I think, and originally it came from what fueled it was at the beginning. You probably saw that video he made about like what's next for me. And a lot of people were like, oh, shoot, he's going to retire. And then he comes out and just like has an amazing season, right?
Yeah.
Like a couple top fives, a win. And now people are like, oh, no, he's going to be the face of 23XI. That's what he's going to do next year. And so that's where it originally came from, was just me thinking it's a goodbye, it's a swan song. He's gonna get the championship, and I still stand by it. And I'm not shocked with the results right now.
Do you? Okay, so I really like it. I don't know if I can't really agree with you, but that's my number two guy. So I mean, even though he's the number one right now, but no, that it is so cool to see, because like, and it was great because it was like a Busch battle at Atlanta. And
Yup.
I don't think anyone really had Kurt Busch winning that race by any
Mm-hmm.
means. But I was so happy to be there and to root for him. I bought a koozie. If you saw the Atlanta video, like that, literally bought that thing right before the race started, and I just got to root for him the entire time, holding my beer. And but it was so cool because his interview afterwards and everything, you can tell how much people actually love him, because
Yes.
he was like, I want to drive this next gen car. Will you guys have me? And all the fans roared and everything. I mean, it would have been a totally different atmosphere had Kyle Busch won that race. His brother, like, but even still, Kurt's got the fans behind him, which thankfully I wasn't the only one rooting for him that day.
Well, the funny thing is, the greatest thing that, and I'll stand by this statement, the greatest thing that happened to Kurt Busch in NASCAR is that his brother joined NASCAR as well.
Yeah.
Because early on in his career, say what you want about Kurt. I mean, I kind of liked some of his antics, not all of it, but early on in his career, you have to say there was some antics. And then Kyle comes in, and it's just like Kurt times 10. And I respect the hell out of Kyle, but that was the best thing for Kurt, was like, oh, you know what? We don't really have to hate him anymore. We'll just hate his brother. We kind of like
Yeah.
him.
That's kind of how I felt about the whole thing. I definitely, you got to respect Kyle for his ability to drive the race car, even when it's not cooperating with him, because he is, if not the best driver on the track every single week. And yeah, he's a little bit, he's got kind of an attitude or whatever, but again, everybody loves it. Well, not everybody loves it, but we got to have it. It's almost like a Dale versus Jeff sort of deal, like back in the day or whatever. You got to have somebody to love. You got to have somebody to hate. There's a lot of Kyle Busch fans out there. When you go to the racetrack, literally he has his own hauler, just like Chase Elliott. Guess what? Kyle Busch's hauler line is just as long as Chase Elliott's.
Absolutely.
Love Kyle Busch.
Absolutely. People live in, you either love him, you either hate him. But I think even the people that hate him all respect him, because we know how talented he is behind a race car. So let's go one last thing here, and then we'll wrap this up. Who has shocked you the most this season? Who have you seen on the track and just been like, man, I wasn't expecting that, but okay.
I'd have to go with Tyler Reddick.
All right.
Honestly.
Okay.
I really do. I mean, he you know what? Let me take that back. It might be a tie between Tyler Reddick and Ross Chastain, because I wasn't, all of a sudden, like we talked about earlier, Ross Chastain has showed up, got top fives, top tens, led some laps and everything. I've been there when it's happened or whatever. I mean, literally, he's had some bad luck, or, different strategy that just didn't work out and everything. But Ross Chastain is due. And so is Tyler Reddick, because he's up there in the top fives and the top tens every single week too. But I'm not expecting it from these guys that came from Xfinity or the trucks or, whatever, but they're, and they're not even in like the best equipment, if that's what you want to call it, but they're still in decent equipment. Let's say that. So yeah, those two, Ross Chastain and Tyler Reddick, have definitely surprised me the most this year.
I think those are very good picks. I honestly thought I expected this from Tyler Reddick. I think he's a super talented guy. You ask, they always ask people in like the Cup Series, they're like, who at these Miamis and the Atlantas, they're like, you always got to watch out for Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick, because they can run that wall and they can literally they can like kiss that wall, and they can run that line where other guys get a little scared running that line, don't want to dust up the car. But I will say the biggest surprise to me, and I was a little out on him, to be honest with you, last year, is Alex Bowman. He came in last year with a lot of hype. He won early and people were expecting big things. And I still said to myself, no, he's not ready. He's not ready. I don't think he's ready. And even this year coming in, I was thinking to myself, I still don't think he's ready. I still don't think. I know he can be good, but I think like we're going to see William Byron, blow up this season, 3-4 wins. I'm shocked what I've seen from Alex Bowman. And obviously he benefits from driving a Chevy, right? I mean, like you said, they've had speed on speed, but I don't know, something about the way he's driven, the wins he's gotten. Yes, he got the lucky one at Pocono, but he's had some really good performances.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. And that's kind of what I wanted to hit on too. Was I've always been a Hendrick guy ever since Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson. What kind of had to be a fan of and everything. Yep. Like, yeah, nothing wrong with Jimmy Johnson, but I think everyone got a little bit tired after 5 championships in a row. It's true. But those guys, Alex Bowman and William Byron, I'll always cheer for the 24 ever, or however that thing goes. But those guys never really did show me until this year like what they could actually do. And once Alex Bowman won that first Pocono race and did that interview after the fact, did you ever see that? Because we talked about it on Sundays for NASCAR podcast.
Where he's like, "Oh, I can't drink."
Yeah. He was like, I can't do a burnout because I got to race the car tomorrow. Can't stand on the car because I got to race the car tomorrow. Can't drink because I got to race the car tomorrow. And I was like, I love you, man. Like, you are now one of my top favorite guys just because of that.
I agree. I didn't really I wasn't a big fan of his personality, but after that I was like, I like this kid. I don't know what it is, but he's got a good attitude. And so, I mean, look, he's performed, and I expect him to be in that final 8, maybe that final 4, but absolutely, I expect all the Chevys to be in the final, all Hendrick cars to be in the final 8. It would be shocking to not see that. But yeah, man, we got a really exciting rest of the season coming. Like we said, Watkins Glen this weekend, Indy Road Course, either the weekend after or a couple weekends. And then we finish off the season with everybody's favorite bread and butter, Daytona. All right. So before we go, what's still on your list of tracks you're hitting?
Okay. So our very next one is the last one you just said. We are hitting Daytona next at the end of this month, which is the regular season finale, basically. That will determine who makes the playoffs and who doesn't. So super excited about that. Sundays for NASCAR is going to be in the infield, and we're going to be there all weekend. We're going to have a good time. We're going to be handing out merch and talking with people, doing some interviews and stuff like that. And then we move on to the very next weekend, the season, the playoff opener at Darlington, Labor Day weekend. We'll be there. And then after that is Bristol for the Bristol night race. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then we are going to the Charlotte Roval.
Wow.
And then this is the one I'm most excited about, because I was supposed to be there last year, and then COVID Sundays for NASCAR were supposed to be at Martinsville last year when Chase Elliott won that race, so I was pretty bummed about that. We are going this year, and we're getting an RV. There's a whole bunch of us going, and it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. And that literally, holy crap, we have 5 left in the rest of the season, and that's more than I've ever hit before in 1 year of going to NASCAR races.
Well, that is awesome. So yeah, for the viewers, if you want to make sure you check them out Sundays for NASCAR. If you're hitting any of those races, which I know some of the people that view this are going to some of those races because I've seen you guys tweet about it. Make sure you check them out. This has been Johnny on the Track with co-host of Sundays for NASCAR, Nick Rhodes. Nick, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I hope to meet you guys at a race one day.
Yeah, okay. So what's your next race? Because we'd love for you to be there and hang out with you.
Bro, I mean, geez, I was at the Amarola win at New Hampshire. And that's usually my one race of the year, as well as, like I said, I go to a bunch of wheel and modified tour stuff and a bunch of local stuff. So I want to try to get out to Talladega if I could for that playoff race. I know me and my buddy have talked about that. And Bristol would just be amazing. I mean, that'd be a dream come true, but I don't have anything planned. But if you guys entice me with a good offer, maybe I'll have to throw some of my paycheck down for a trip.
Oh, absolutely, man. Hopefully it'll be this year. I'll definitely keep in touch with you and try and get you out to one of those races that we're going to, because it would be awesome to be able to party in person.
Absolutely. And I'll probably be off keto by then. So we can have a couple beers for sure. So again, Nick, thank you so much, and we'll have to do a podcast too, me, you, and Joa.
Oh yes, for sure. Hey man, thank you for having me on. This was a blast. I definitely enjoyed it. It gives me a little bit of a break here during our 2-week hiatus from NASCAR, and just to be able to get to talk to somebody about it, and I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.
Love that, man. All right, take care, and we'll be in touch.
All right, man. Thanks.
See ya.